What's that?
Sam just picking up the stun fist, having to read it. There's a double colorless. First turn Lily, always what you want to see. Basically, any deck that runs it, putting your hand all the way back up to 8 cards. There's a second Spiritomb hitting the bench. Here's a Nest Ball. Hunter playing pretty quickly.
Yep. So these Spiritomb do have an ability where they can place a damage counter on themselves. It helps to enrage Stunfisk's attack. He can start to do a ton of damage with Electric Trap, which just takes a double colorless energy. And everyone's going to take a peek. So
yeah, this is
pretty cool.
We're going to get some readers here.
Yep. So Raging Thunder is also a way that you can start to put some damage onto your bench, which is, it seems weird, but in a deck that wants damage on its own bench, you just do it sometimes.
Yeah, you got to do it. So after some playing on the bench and an attachment, it looks like we're passing back to Sam, who has a Lily of his own. Whoop. New sleeve. Classic new sleeve technique.
Wow, this hand is so weird. He's got a ton of rescue stretchers, so he's ready for his Whoopers to get knocked out, but is that really what you want to be ready for?
he just has to pass the turn.
Yikes.
2 Whoopers and a Ditto Prism. There's damage on the Spiritombs.
All right, and then Hunter's got to make up his mind here. He's got a Guzma in his hand, so if he wants to target down that Ditto, of course, he has that option available to him. It really just depends on what he values the most here. His opponent's also on an 8-card hand. Didn't play anything after that Lily, so a Marshadow seems like a pretty great choice.
Yeah, very, very easy call there, I think, for the Marshadow. Marshadow kind of lets you be able to just play the Guzma and not worry about, you spending a draw support or anything like that, too.
Yep. It's a very strong turn here. He's going to be able to take that knockout on the Ditto, leave Sam with only 4 cards, and he's going to have 2 Whoopers in play against Stunfisks that, I mean, he's already hitting for upwards of 90 damage, and that can even be compounded even further.
Yeah, absolutely. So great start here by Hunter. Could be even compounded further by the 4 cards in hand. We saw, I think we saw the ultimate let loose in the last round that you cast.
Yeah.
Where it was just literally turn 1 let loose into a concession.
Sometimes it just wins the game. It is such a strong card.
And there's a knockout on the Ditto Prism Star. Whooper becomes the active Pokemon. Can't quite make out the 5 cards now in Sam's hand, but one of them was an Ultra Ball, so he does have some outs here. Immediately takes the Dedenne GX. Gonna go ahead and look through his deck, make sure he knows what's prized and what's not. Especially in a deck that's running a lot of one-ofs. I imagine that's pretty important.
Yep.
To know exactly what you have access to at each point in the matchup.
Yep. Honestly, at this point, Sam might be trying to just figure out what his strategy should be. He sees Stunfisk and says, okay, I'm going to need to get a knockout on this thing soon before it just runs over all of my Pokemon. What's the best option after I grab this Dedenne?
Yeah, something you'll see a lot of the top players do. Jeremy and I talked a little bit earlier about is just kind of making sure that you have a plan specifically for each matchup. Because there are just some times where you just need to change your decks kind of the way that operates completely depending on what your opponent's playing.
Yep.
It does end up getting the Dedenne with that Ultra Ball. But Pheromosa and Buzzwole hitting the board, and then the Dedenne for a fresh 6 cards, no discard.
Yep. So we did see a lot of those grass energy potentially in the discard pile with 3, but he was able to find that rainbow on the last card, so does have an option for an attack, can start using Jet Punch if he likes.
Yep, go ahead and use Jet Punch just like on the old Buzzwole GX, but hitting the, I imagine it's a fine balance between trying to not put too much damage on your opponent's side of the board without getting KOs, but also realizing that you need to try to win the game somehow.
Yeah. Yep, it can be weird when your opponent wants damage on their field,
right?
Too.
We do see Hunter top decks a Lily for the turn, plays down another Spiritomb, and a Cynthia going to reset his hand to a fresh 6.
All right, so we know Hunter does play cards like Damage Mover, so he could move some of the damage that's on the bench Stunfisk over to a Pokemon like his Marshadow, and he could use his Spiritomb's ability get more damage into play. All of his Pokemon on his bench would have damage on them, which means that his Stunfisk would be hitting for 150 damage. He has amplifiers like Electropower that he can use, so it's not surprising to see a lot of damage come down early and often from the Stunfisk. Choice Band as well.
This little Stunfisk that could.
He's doing work, and the Shrine of Punishment as well is just going to start chipping away. Electropower too.
So let's see, we're doing 180?
I'm glad we have a number scientist. Yep. Yep, looks like it's going to be 180 damage along with the 10 extra from the Shrine of Punishment. Dedene's going to get a little bit of that too.
All that from a little Stunfisk. 2 big bad GXs.
Job well done, Stunfisk. Alex. Each of your Pokemon with any damage on it, so
Right.
the active as well is included in that. So it was 210 plus 10 from the Shrine. But guess what? Max Potion doesn't care.
Max Potion just gets rid of everything.
Oh, no.
But no other plays by Sammy. Just going to take some Shrine of Punishment damage and pass the turn.
That's so tough. Imagine if he has Zebstrika and he could just start to get through his deck, maybe start to see some of his attackers that he wants here. Instead, he just has to pass the turn, and he knows he's going to take another huge attack from the Stunfisk.
Yeah, that's so disappointing when you see a turn like that. I mean, and Hunter's in a position where he doesn't really have to make many actions. You know, he's just adding some damage here or there, maybe attaching energy, but Sammy really needs something to push through here.
Yeah. What a cool deck.
Yeah, it's really awesome to see like a weird rogue deck at this level.
Well, we see Max Potion galore from Sam, but what's it really accomplishing? He's just buying more time for himself.
Yeah, traditionally, you know, a card like Max Potion can be used well when you're kind of getting an advantage too. You're saying, all right, well, your last turn didn't matter, and now I'm doing this. But Sammy's just doing the first part of that,
Right.
not actually changing anything. And he's even just, I guess he was randomly taking damage off the Shrine of Punishment. And he has another Max Potion in his hand. So he's just going to slam it there, heal, pass the turn. Actions on Hunter. I imagine Hunter still doesn't really have much to do. You know, play an Ultra Ball, immediately fail it.
Doesn't even want anything. He's got everything he needs.
Yeah, bench is full. He's fully set up Stunfists ready to attack.
Yep. Guess he used that Lily as well, so can start to add a few more damage amplifiers into his hand, maybe another damage mover, something to help him work on a different attacker after he knocks out this Pheromosa Buzzwole, which you'd assume has to fall soon. It's already seen 3 Max Potions.
Yeah, it looks like it might this turn as we see Sam hits a Cynthia, so now maybe not going to have the heal option. I don't know how many Max Potions he plays, but is going to see 6 new cards, so maybe he can actually start to advance his board a little bit.
Yep, looks like he does have the 3 Max Potion there, so all of those have been used. He's removed 600 damage, but what's it got him?
Yeah. And the 6 cards is... Oh, I thought that communication was another Max Potion. We do see the Zebstrika here, so that's going to be something that'll help ensure that Sam doesn't get in the position that he was earlier. He's going to be able to drop to 4 anytime.
Got a little glimpse of Electrode. It's going to turn into a Quagsire pretty quickly.
And there is the Quagsire, the kind of thing that makes this deck function. We see that Zebstrika.
Right. Able to find some energy cards. That's been really his downfall to this point.
Yeah, we did note that he had 3 of them of his total 10 prized at the beginning of the game. Looks like 2 or 3 more in the discard pile too. 1 for sure off of the first Max Potion at least. And yeah, what an interesting game here. We see a Shining Mew.
Mew. Beautiful.
It's gotta be the weirdest stream match of all time.
Shining Mew does occupy the last bench spot for Sam. There's a Rainbow Energy on it. Go ahead and move it on over. Put the Shining Mew in the active position. We got another reader here.
Can I join that team? Because there's a lot of interesting Pokemon coming into play.
There's a lot of things going on here. There's the Shining Mew. So that's just going to help him accelerate a little bit. Gets to get 2 energy cards. Don't even have to be basic. And just attach them however he likes. Free retreat. So he does have an energy on the Wooper and one on the Quagsire now. So even though he missed it for a few turns, he has kind of undone that at the sacrifice, I guess, of having that Mew in the active.
Yep. So
Cynthia from Hunter.
yeah, Hunter's gonna keep fishing. It looks like he wants a little more to work with here.
I don't really know what he's looking for. I mean, I guess at this point, just damage modifiers / when these stun fists get knocked out, he wants to replace them.
Yeah, I feel like he's also probably going to start looking for cards like Guzma. Having 3 prizes just sitting on the bench there with that Pheromosa and Buzzwole, you know that he wants to find those all those cards later on.
Yeah, speaking of prizes, Hunter has knocked out the Mew, goes down to 4 prizes rather.
Also got to put that clutch 10 damage onto the Mars Shadow, add a little bit more to his overall attack power. The Stun Fist now would hit a GX Pokemon for 210 without damage amplifying from the hand.
On a basic with a double colorless.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. And we're seeing, I mean, this is kind of a cool thing to see just to feature at this point in the tournament because it's just showing you a bunch of cards that you might not have seen a lot before. You know, it's not the same old Reshiram and Charizard, Pikachu and Zekrom. We're seeing a lot of cool innovation and fun, interesting cards.
Yep.
So action is on Sam here. There's that Electrode. Once again, Hunter's going to go ahead and take a look at that.
So earlier you talked about how Sam played that toolbox to get himself that top 4 finish. And honestly, this is a big toolbox of its own, too.
Yeah. I mean, basically, it looks to me like he's taken kind of the Quagsire shell and basically decided to just jam a bunch of Pokemon in it that are, again, a toolbox. You know, for those of you who don't know, a toolbox is kind of pretty descriptive, just what it sounds like. It's a deck where you just have a bunch of different options depending on each matchup. Some classic examples are maybe a deck where you are trying to just have a different typing advantage. So you're like, oh, I'm playing against the fire deck. I'll just bring out this, water Pokemon that I have, and maybe all my Pokemon do more or less the same thing. Or, in this case, you can move energy around how they'd like with that Quagsire, moving them to the active. And we're going to see a knockout. The Stunfisk is down. Sam takes his first prize. Spiritomb is going to become active on Hunter's side.
Yep, so Marshadow and Machamp tagging up and going to take that revenge knockout there.
Yeah, one of the pretty interesting tag team GXs that Sam has in his deck. This one's seen a little bit of play, but certainly not as much as something like a Reshiram and Charizard.
Right. So now
Energy Lotto.
It's up to Hunter to find some of that damage amplifying that we were talking about earlier. Don't know if his hand's capable of doing it. Right now, Stunfisk would be hitting for 150 damage. If you could get another Spiritomb in play, then maybe it starts to line up. You could find more Electropower, Choice Band, and take a huge knockout here.
Yeah, and it does seem... So, again, I don't think either of us are really experts in these decks. But
that's fair.
What I would imagine is it's the difficult part about what's going on with Hunter now is that he's had to take a lot of a single prize. He'll take a lot of single prize knockouts. Mm-hmm. And I imagine this deck just tries to prey on like, yeah, well, you're going to knock me out pretty easily and pretty low hit points, but we're just trading 2 for 1 or even 3 for 1 in the case of these tag teams.
Right.
So when he starts out by knocking out 2 single prize Pokemon and then immediately getting knocked out by a big undamaged tag team, I imagine it could be really tough to come back.
Looks like he's eyeing up a big turn here. He's got the Dedenne that he wants to grab, so that means he's going to throw away this whole hand potentially and just see if he can get there. With the damage mover, it looks like he won't be able to use that to a full effect, having to use the ability of the Dedenne first to throw away all the cards. But he's got other ways to amplify the damage.
So what does he need for a knockout here? So he needs the Dedenne comes down, gets damaged.
Yep.
And then that's going to be 180.
Yep, then you need a Choice Band and 2 Electropowers, and you've used 1 so far, I believe.
So he's going to need a lot. But let's see if he can put this together. Rescue Stretcher, not going to help him to exactly hit this knockout this turn, but it's going to shuffle some Pokemon back in for the future.
Yep, he was able to put that Kartana GX back into his deck, so he could use that in multiple ways. He hasn't really used the GX attack, and I don't see one that he'd rather use other than Kartana's. And he could also remove some of these special energy cards that Sam's getting a ton of use out of with the moving of Quagsire.
Here's the big Cynthia. Hunter's body language immediately scrunches up his face and shakes his head. Don't think he hit, and it confirmed he did
Nowhere
not.
close. This is not what he wanted to see.
Basically none of the cards that he needed. And this is, I think, a point in these kind of games where things can just start to really go wrong. Once a player sets up, you know, they have a Quagsire, they have a big tag team, it can be really hard, I feel like, for Hunter to come back.
Yep. So we have Anguish Cry is going to be able to deal a pretty hefty amount of damage for 1 energy. This seems to be everything that Hunter wants to do with his deck. He just puts damage everywhere, and all of his Pokemon are very thankful for it.
Yeah.
Look at that, this black market coming out.
So we're going to, again, kind of slow down the game, turn it from a 1 prize card trade to a 0 prize card trade as we have the Rainbow Energy on the Spiritomb.
Yep, and Sam is gonna go looking. He'd really like to get that black market out of the way. He'd love to be taking some prizes because you don't want to just sit there and let a non-GX Pokemon hit you for 2-hit potential knockouts.
Yeah, he'll need to have a stadium of his own to replace it. I'm not sure exactly how many stadiums he plays or what he's working with.
It looks like he just has the 2 Altar of the Moon, and we've already seen 1 come down.
Pokemon Communication, bye-bye Tapu Lele. Just gonna go ahead and look through his deck. I think he might be just checking for the stadiums here, seeing if he has any way really out of this. Obviously, Hunter doesn't have infinite, you know, rainbow energies that can count as dark energies, but gonna make the game a lot harder if Sam's not taking prizes.
Yep.
So Sam in the tank thing. You know, he does have the counter stadium, so there goes the black market. So prizes are active now.
Yep, and now Sam just has to decide who the best attacker is in this scenario. He has to do 10 whole damage.
Yeah, it's just so difficult to think about. Okay, well, I can't, you know, really leave. Yeah, it looks like he's actually going to go ahead and scoop him up. He just sees the writing on the wall. That one big attack from Hunter. You know, I had some doubts about whether Hunter could kind of get back into the game, but it just, all he needed was to just put enough pressure on those tag team GXs. And that really is the downside of the 3 prize attackers when you are, when you're playing 1 prize attackers, where it's just saying, well, you know, I got ahead a little bit early, and now, hey, I just need to knock out 1 of these things.
Yep, so I feel like, honestly, that matchup is pretty difficult for Sam, but it could have gone a lot better for him. He had to use all those max potions early in the game. And if you can remove some of that damage, then you can start to work in a way for a tag team Pokemon to win against single prize attackers. You just kind of have to get full use out of that max potion each and every time. So if Sam is able to set up scenarios like that, if he's able to find those at the right opportunity, maybe find that early Zubstrika, then he can start to go through his deck and show the true potential that it has.
Yeah, definitely. You really need to make use of every one of your cards, especially something like Max Potion that can just really buy you turns. You never want to have the desperation Max Potions like Sam did, where it was just Max Potion pass, and who knows how that game would have turned out if Sam would have made, you know, 10 more game actions on those turns.
So we just see the 1 Max Potion in the prize cards for Sam there, and only 1 energy, so much better for him.
Looking over to enter that black market, Electro Power, Stunfisk.
Yeah, you can work with that. That's not too bad.
Not too bad at all. All right, game 2. Both of these players trying to have a run at day 2 here in Columbus at the North American International Championship. Sam going to need to win back-to-back games. Hunter just needs to win one of the next 2. Just under a half hour on the clock, and let's get right down to it. Faramosa and Buzzwole. If Sam's active, he'll be playing first, of course. Looper.
This is hold up.
He just drags every card that's been played.
What a fun game.
Yeah, this is awesome. I mean, it looks like Sam is taking the Faramosa and Buzzwole, the second copy of it. Maybe identifying that's where he needs to be in this matchup.
Wow, even found the beast energy too. Getting to modify your damage like that, you can really start to get some important damage onto these stun fists. Maybe if you can get a jet punch and then Guzma and a jet punch, you can take multiple knockouts pretty early.
Yeah, it's functioning very similarly to how the old Buzzwole GX decks would function versus these single prize attacker things. Jet punch is just so huge, especially with that turn 1 beast energy. Now on Hunter's side, we have a stun fist, both in the active position and on the bench. I imagine a lot of the play patterns for Hunter are going to be very similar. Just I'm going to play Spirit Tombs and stun fists. I'm going to play Electro Powers when I need to. Not really a whole lot of moving parts and options in Hunter's deck.
Yeah, and it looked like Hunter does have a pretty solid hand to get where he wants to go. Saw energy for the turn, as well as, I believe, a Lily, so he should be able to play a pretty decent amount of cards here and get himself to where he wants to be. So also that Shrine of Punishment, too. It's very helpful.
Yeah, Shrine of Punishment into 3 targets for it on the very first turn is pretty big here. Double colorless onto the Stunfisk.
Yeah, not very helpful, the Absol in this matchup, but you always want to see one extra card. It can't hurt you, so going to go ahead and get that extra card off the Lily. And he's hoping to find more Spiritomb, and he does find that Nest Ball.
Yeah, Spiritomb seems to be kind of what makes the deck really work here. The only kind of consistent turn-by-turn way to put damage onto your board.
Wow, even has an Ultra Ball too, so he can get a third Spiritomb if he so chooses.
Yeah, Hunter's hand seems pretty solid. I don't know if I saw another supporter, but he has the Ultra Ball, another double colorless in case something goes wrong.
Yep. Oh, wow, look at that. He's got the Kartana.
Wow. Kartana GX. Gonna come down here. Hunter just taking a moment to look through his deck. It looks like he might take that Mark Shadow instead.
It's tough to call. He has a good enough hand for the following turn. He has energy, he has the Lily, he has cards that he can play like the Choice Band, so don't really need to work on your hands, but if he's worried about his opponent's hand, he could use that Marshadow. Looks like he's going to take the risk. He says, it's just one extra card for my opponent. I'd rather just remove that Beast Energy and make sure that no wild shenanigans with Guzmas take out all of my Pokemon.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that's kind of the safer play. That Beast Energy is such an important card, and being able to just commit a card to the board to just immediately get rid of it for basically no cost seems really important.
Yep. He also has that Shrine of Punishment in play, which is going to damage his own Kartana. So he's going to help his Stunfisk without really having to do anything.
The combo.
it's going to work out pretty well. Of course, all these guys need to take some damage, so hopefully we catch all that.
Go ahead, I got you.
I'm sure Hunter has been in this position many a time.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, yeah, mine too.
Oh, no, my Kartana took a damage.
It's the happiest damage he's ever taken.
Guess I'm only doing 120 next turn. There is another max potion from Sam.
Man, Sam keeps finding all these rescue stretchers in the opener. This is exactly the opposite of when you want to find them. All his Pokemon are still around.
Drawing the wrong half of the deck is Sam Hough here. There's a Jet Punch. No knockouts, just some spreading of the damage around. Thankfully, not hitting anything that didn't have damage on it already, as you see that completely untouched Absol.
Yeah, that would have been a choice.
Let's see an Energy Lotto here. And a miss.
Honestly, he might have missed even if he found something.
Yeah, sure.
He wants to draw more cards with his Lily.
Yeah. Doesn't matter too much when you have 2 double colorless on the board. Choice band as well.
Oh, poor Murkrow is going to hang on his hand a few more turns.
5-card Lily.
Okay. So
It's got that damage mover, so can start to move some of that damage onto his Absol. All these Pokemon are damaged now. We're talking big numbers at this point, 180 plus
210.
30 with that choice band. You also get the shrine damage, so getting really close to dangerous numbers here.
Yeah, 220 by the time that Sam starts his next turn.
180, 210, 220 wish.
That's a good turn.
Yeah. Yeah, it sure is.
Sam has already used 1 max potion suboptimally. Not really up to him. He's just drawing these awkward cards. Does have Acerola in hand, however, so could get a lot of use out of that.
Yeah, Acerola seems like the one that you're kind of more willing to use just willy-nilly, just because you can actually advance when you're doing that. Get back the energy, actually attack again. Although Sam does, just his body language seems pretty frustrated.
It's fair enough. I mean, he built a deck to counter the meta, and then he ran into this. This flattened fish is running over him.
Considering where to drop that energy, just puts it on the Quagsire. And yeah, just a hand of switches and rescue stretchers. Does have a Guzma. Looks like he's considering where to play that, if at all.
Yep. So the Guzma is a little bit of a risk. Your Pheromosa Buzzwole is going to take a ton of damage, but you could always Acerola on the following turn. It's not like it's going to get knocked out from the Shrine of Punishment damage. But yeah, look, he wants to put the damage onto these Spiritombs and try to knock them out over the course of multiple turns with the Jet Punches.
Yeah, I guess if you're going to actually win this game, it's going to be eliminating the free damage sources from Spiritomb, because there's not, besides committing a Rainbow Energy, there's not really other ways you can just randomly add damage,
Right.
damage mover, things like that. But it's just so risky when you have to go Guzma. I'll switch back to my 210 damage or 220 damage Pokemon. I'll take another damage from the shrine. Your go.
And Hunter inadvertently teched for the matchup. He's got damage mover, so anytime a Jet Punch lands on a Pokemon he doesn't like, he can just throw it somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think we're going to see that soon. He's like, oh, what? You're trying to knock out my Spiritombs? Go away.
Just gonna go
Here,
ahead
you can have my Absol.
That'll free up a bench spot for my Murkrow, maybe. Stunfisk coming to the active again. Hunter wisely promoting the one without a choice band, because it's going to be enough damage either way to take the knockout.
Yep. It's a very smart play by him. Every bit of damage is going to be important to knock out the following Pheromosa and Buzzwole, which could just win him the game outright.
Yeah, there's 3 prizes down. Half the game's over. It's still so weird to me to watch someone physically grab 1,
Right.
2, 3.
Hey, that's not right, man.
Yeah. Well, let's back up. Let's back up.
Back in my day.
All right, Pheromosa Buzzwole back in the active position for Sam, but I don't really know what he can do to kind of get around this.
This seems so tough.
Acerola is a start? Question mark?
Yeah, it honestly doesn't do very much. He's kind of just stuck there.
Yeah, and he just kind of does a similar play. He's going to take some damage, actually get a knockout on the Spirit.
Right. Do you think that he has the damage output to get there?
So let's see, he's doing 150 base now. I guess he can retreat into the choice band Stunfisk. So that's 180. I mean, he can, obviously he draws enough electro power, especially with the Shrine of Punishment damage, but I don't know how likely it is.
Right. Even a Guzma almost sets up a pretty strong checkmate if you're able to wipe out a Dedenne or a Quagsire. Just something that's either so important to the deck or those extra 2 prizes to where any Guzma is just going to win the game for you.
Right.
You would even set up your Kartana to finish the game if you take out the Dedenne. So, so many different options available for Hunter to close out here.
Yeah, definitely. I think at this point, Hunter just needs to kind of check his bases and make sure that he doesn't do have any kind of horrific blunders.
Oh man, he's going for it.
Oh, here it is, Electro Power, Cynthia. All right, so he has the Sunfist can retreat, and then the Choice Band one can come up if he's just fully committing, right? So that's 210.
Well, Stunfisk has 3 retreat. He's a big play.
He already attached.
Yep.
So he's okay. So he needs to find a Choice Band as well. He has an Electro Power already, just one.
Yeah, I feel like he's not going all the way for it just because he had Ultra Ball in hand. He could have thrown away some cards if he wanted to max out all of his potential. But, I mean, he has the cards available to win this game, I'm pretty sure.
Looks like there's some discussion about the Absol.
Oh, Absol retreating with the Ditto in play. He would have. He was unable to retreat in that spot because he would have a 2 retreat cost from the Absol.
And so he Ditto retreating.
So he retreated for the 1 energy and wasn't able to. It's a nice catch by the judges. A little late, but they're trying to figure out how to combat that.
I don't really know what happens typically in this spot. I think it's been. I think both players are kind of motioning like I don't really know. I don't.
Right.
It didn't really affect much.
So a Spiritomb was in play that it would have stayed in play because this attack would have never occurred. So some things have changed, and once the supporter gets played, it gets so tricky. But yeah, I think that Sam's just gonna.
Yeah,
scoop
I have to
this
imagine
fight.
that's what's going to happen. Is just they don't want to go through it. Sam has a single-digit chance to win here, and they're just like, oh, I made a mistake. It was beneficial for Sam, and Sam's just going to go ahead and concede.
Yeah.
So a bit of an awkward end there, but a really fun match to watch. Congratulations to Hunter Butler for advancing to the second day here in Columbus of the North American International Championship. Still has a round to play, but no matter what the result of that, short of a disqualification, I suppose, he will move on to the second day.
Yeah, gotta pay attention to those Absols. we don't need any more penalties, man.